For Chapter 5, Lecture 1, we're going to discuss auditing standards in the AICPA, the IAASB, and the Pcaob. So professional auditing standards. Auditors in the United States follow auditing guidance issued by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, and International Auditing and Assurance Standards Boards. Now, the common objective: provide assurance to public that audits are conducted in a quality manner. So the application of the auditing standards, well, we're going to apply them to develop an opinion on the financial statements and communicate that, as well as the internal controls over financial reporting. So the auditing standards issued by the AICPA and the IAASB, well, both of them use the following format for their auditing standards: an introduction, which explains the purpose and the scope of the standard; an objective, which defines the content in which the requirements are set; and definitions, including specific meanings of the terms in the standards. The requirements identify what the auditor is required to do to achieve the objective of the standard, and the application and other explanatory material include cross-references to the requirements and provide further guidance for applying the requirements to the standard. So Pcaob standards, the Pcaob standards do not necessarily attempt to converge with the AICPA or the IAASB, but they're organized by topical areas that follow the flow of the audit opinion formulation process, and the numbering convention, which is purposely designed to align with the AICPA and the IAASBs. So let's look at some of this. So who has the authority of these different standards? For the IAASB, it's the International Federation of Accountants, and as agreed upon by the countries who abide by these standards. Pcaob is the U.S. Congress, as expressed in Sarbanes-Oxley, and the AICPA is the historical or self-regulatory profession, so us, the CPAs and the CPA firms. Terminology: international standards on auditing are used for the IAASB, Pcaob uses auditing standards, and the AICPA uses the AU-C, which the -C usually means it's trying to be in conformity with some of the Pcaob standards and the IAASB standards. The scope and applicability of the standards, well, it only makes sense that the international standards are for international companies, including most of Europe and many emerging markets. The Pcaob standards are for publicly traded companies in the U.S. And finally, the AICPA is for all the non-public entities in the U.S. So the convergence that we talked about is the international standards are committed to an international convergence. The Pcaob really doesn't mandate that because they're really focused on the U.S. Publicly traded companies, but the AICPA is committed to some sort of international convergence, hence the AU-C standards that they have renamed them. And that concludes our brief discussion on auditing standards in the AICPA, IAASB, and the Pcaob for Lecture 1, Chapter 5.